white populations are correct. When this baby hits 88 miles per hour, you're gonna see some serious shit.
Good evening and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Virtual Racer League. Sebring International tonight for the VRL Endurance Series, the 1.2 hours of Sebring. Vintage Racer Group Virtual Racer League welcomes you to the Season 5 finale here at Sebring International Raceway. Got a fun night of endurance racing up for you here this evening. We got 45 minutes qualifying from 8 p.m. to 8:45, and then we're going to have our race from 8:45 until 10 p.m. Bounce around a bit here in these 45 minutes qualifying before we pick up our extended endurance race here for this evening. Looking forward to some exciting action here at Sebring this evening. It's a bumpy track, big track, not a whole lot of places to set your turn in, your braking, otherwise learn where you're going on this track, so it should prove to be a challenge here this evening. This is Ian Wisman with the VRG Virtual Racer League here this evening, Sebring International for the 1.2 hours of Sebring. At you here this evening. Qualifying from 8 to 8:45 and then race from 8:45 to 10 p.m. Thanks for joining us out there on Facebook and YouTube land. Share with your friends. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, make sure you sign up for the notifications. People tell you when we're ready to go live, so you can make sure to tune in. So make yourself some popcorn, get yourself a beverage, sit back, relax. Racing here this evening with the VRG VRL, and thanks for joining us. Currently following along here with Reed Shannerbrook as he tackles Sebring out this evening in the Porsche 911 RSR, done up in the pink pig, the famous livery from back in the day. Reed currently on top of the timing sheets, looking for some of our stalwarts here in the VRG VRL to come out and lap times they can set. See Darren Treacle's just sitting in the pit lane. Dave Fitzgerald, Eric Russell joining us this evening. Eric, good to have you with us. He's going to be out in the Corvette this evening. Reed Shannerbrook currently out on top in the Porsche. Ian Ditson not too far behind. Actually, a bit quicker qualifying session. Ian Ditson out in the BMW M8 this evening. Stefan Baffin just behind in the Corvette. New to Stefan is the Corvette. Previously a pretty strong supporter of the Ferrari Prancing Horse. Don LeBayer currently in fourth. John Wood in fifth, also out in the BMW, currently on his lap lap. Bob Lang and Mac McCormick out there this evening. Additional input from those here in the VRL racing Sebring for the first time, or at least for the first time in a sim, is that very hard to find your points here on this track. Not a whole lot of references to go by. It's such a flat track, very wide open. Looking for cracks in the pavement, perhaps some rubber marks, cone here and there to inform you where you need to start braking, turn in, accelerate. Also extremely bumpy, as we'll find here as we ride along in car with some of these drivers here this evening, particularly in turn one. Quite a handful. trying to get woed down after a decent straight there. That fast left-hand turn, bouncing all the way through it. Exciting stuff here this evening. Looking forward to the show from the VRL. Ian Wisman with the VRG VRL broadcast. Facebook. Thank you for joining us. Be sure to share the stream, invite your friends. Back with lots of joy. Fun racing action for you coming at you. Sebring International, 1.2 hours of Sebring. Along here with Stefan Vapp as he comes across start finish. We're going to take a lap around Sebring with Stefan. Get some indication here with his gyro cam just how much shake there is in the car as he's traversing some of these turns here on this Sebring International Raceway. On his hands there on the steering wheel, you get some impression of the feedback he's receiving navigating his course. .74 miles of road course here, 17 turns. Current race lap record, 1:41.8. We had a Gazoo Racing in 2019 in an LMP1 car. Take a look here as Stefan navigates his course, see what kind of times he's running. Here currently on top of the timing sheets, Ian Ditson of the BMW at 1:57.829. Racing 16 seconds faster than current racers. And Ditson setting another purple time here in this qualifying session. We'll see what Stefan has to answer. Nice and wide there, carrying a lot of speed. Second place in 1:57.719. Far off of Ian. Like Stefan pick up the pace here just a little bit. Pulling up our current championship standings here in just a moment. Let's see where we stand. Don't yet have the data from timing and scoring. Yeah, thanks to timing and scoring there. for pulling that together so quickly. As we can see, Stefan Vappa currently out on top here in Season 5 of our Endurance Series, 127 points. Fight racing going on behind there between Darren Treacle and Mac McCormick. Darren out in the BMW, Mac McCormick out in the Chevy Corvette C8R. Getting a little loose there, probably got to get a little more heat in those tires before he gets a little too aggressive. Wearing a bit different livery this evening, the Reese's. Previously running the Marlboro back in our opening race at Daytona. We got Stefan Vapp out on top, 127 points. Dave Fitzgerald currently running second place, 122. Darren Treacle, Treacle Insurance Racing. John Wood in fourth place. Dippa Sport, 117 points. Dave Curtis rounding out that top 5 with 108 points. Bob Lang there in sixth. The award, I believe, it's for almost anybody's race here. So let's see how this goes this evening. Jumping up to the Treacle Insurance blimp here as we watch Ian Ditson currently on top of the qualifying times this minute 57.667 as he comes back on the start finish straight. We'll see if he's able to improve upon that. Out lap though, so this one might not count just yet. It's currently navigating turn 7, quite difficult hairpin turn here. Really hard to make sure you get that braking correct. As you can see in the distance there, somebody overshooting it just a bit. Being able to get the power down as you leave it, hard on that, and you're just going to spin tire, lose speed, lose time. Combinations here around this course here. Quite a challenge. Initially, I think everybody was generally in the 2 minutes, 2 minutes 12. Take some practice and some concentration, put yourself down to sub 2 minute lap times. So they do here this evening. 75 minutes worth of racing here at Sebring International for the 1 wide exit onto this very long back straight here for Ian Ditson. Lots of time to think about the setup here for this rather fast turn. Come back around on the start finish. Hug it tight there, push it wide on the exit. Approaching the grass there. Start finish. Slight improvement on his prior lap time, but not enough to pip Stefan Vappa, currently out on top. Up here with Don LeBuyer for a little bit. Bit of traffic out here in this qualifying session. Everybody's gotten into their cars, getting out there, scrubbing in their tires, trying to set a quick lap here. We're 21.5 minutes into this 45-minute qualifying session here at Sebring. Nice mix of cars here this evening. A number of Corvettes out there. Pretty popular car, new to iRacing as of the most recent release. Pretty neutral car. Seems to handle the bumps and the bruises here at Sebring nicely. Out there in the BMW this evening, a couple of Porsches, and we have a lone competitor out there in the Ford. Ralph Paddington, half of the ELB Racing Live. Dave Fitzgerald, currently second place in our championship standings. We'll see how Dave fares this evening. Of course, this being a longer race, no sense necessarily going out there to beat the band in the first couple of laps because nobody ever wins the race in the first turn, first lap. Got 75 minutes of racing here this evening. Dave getting a little squirrely there, saves it, but it looks like he's going to have to head back to the pits here after having jump down the pack a little bit. Let's pick up with, let's see, who's out rotating around right now. We'll pick up Todd Angel, see how he's doing here this evening. Out in the Porsche this evening. Change from his Corvette from the first race. Live at Daytona. Eric Russell rejoining us this evening, tonight out in the Corvette. Absence here in Season 5. Take some time and practice, certainly to compete here. VRG VRL. We've got some long-time iRacers here. Several folks new to the scene. Not having too much real-world racing to do here. Eric Russell, though, one of our favorites, and that both a racer and a corner worker. Of course, we always want to say thanks to our corner workers, because without our workers, we can't go racing in the real world. So thank you to any corner workers which may be out there watching this evening, and thanks very much to Russell, who iRaces by day, flags by night. Good to see him out there this evening, finding his way around Sebring. Expect he'll pick up some pace here as the session. Kurt Uzbey out this evening, another Ford joining us, a quick car. It can do quite well in the right hands. We'll see how Kurt handles it this evening. And Ditson still working his way up to the top of the timing sheets here in qualifying. About 2/10 off from current Stefan Vattel. Aaron currently setting his fastest times in 3 of 4 sectors thus far, going purple in sector 3, so making a bit of time there. Together and challenge Stefan for that. Bit of traffic ahead of him. Navigate this quickly. A quick lap time for Darren. Aaron putting together another couple quick sectors here. He can maintain this set of steam that he's got going on and catch up to Stefan. Bit wide, and Darren gets just a little too loose there out on the grass. Taps that inside wall there. Darren will catch up with him his next lap around. Picking up with our current pole sitter, Stefan Vattel. Cockpit with him since we just took a look inside Darren's car. We can see it's a bit different of a ride in here in the Corvette. braking down, gets that car pointed in a straight line before jumping back on that accelerator pedal. Rear ends can break out quite easily here in these cars. Stefan backing out here. It looks like that might have been Steve Focacci that just passed him. Pick up with Steve here. Usually running color commentary up here in the broadcast booth. This evening, Steve's out there on track giving everybody a run for their money. He put together another excellent training video for those in the VRL to get ideas on just how to navigate Sebring and do it. Yeah, on his out lap, so beating those tires, and it's going to be a flying lap next time around. Stefan perhaps exercising a bit of racecraft there, allowing Steve to pass so he can observe his line as they 17-turn course here at Sebring International. Under 10 minutes remaining here in this 45-minute qualifying session for the 1.2 hours of Sebring. This is Dean Wisman with the VRG VRL, the Virtual Racer League. Casting here for you this evening. Thanks for joining us on YouTube and Facebook Live. Like, hit the share, subscribe, get notifications when we go live. Fitzgerald currently qualifying in 6th position. Expecting to pick up the pacer just a little bit. He runs a bit wide there. Competitor is currently on outlaps in the pits or exiting the pits. Focacci here, Focacci Family Racing. Certainly watching out the nose of Mr. Focacci's Corvette here this evening. We get an idea as to the surface here at Sebring International. Bit wide there as it comes onto the front straight. Expect to probably gotten off course for that. We'll see if this lap counts. It was disallowed by race control. Put out. Livery BMW M8. John, very familiar here with this M8, races that with the BMW National Capital Chapter Group. He runs on Thursday nights. John came to this series, the Endurance Series, with prior experience. Done nicely. Championship points here again. We can see John Wood currently sitting in 4th place. 117 points. Stefan Vappa out on top right now. Stefan Vappa currently qualified 2nd here for this race. Focacci out on top in 5th position. Steve's down there in 14th place with only 42 points. Generally out in the broadcast booth with me. Lack of points here. I was lucky enough to pick up 72 myself. Steve's not going to be able to challenge for the championship here this evening, but he's definitely going to put on a show, make sure everybody's got something to watch. Definitely has a chance here. Perhaps Stefan, Darren, and Dave Fitzgerald ahead of him have issues this evening. 75-minute race. There will be pit stops. That tends to mix things up a little bit. How that works out for our competitors here this evening. Dave Curtis out here this evening in a spectacular liveried Porsche 911 RSR Mountain Dew with some hot purple/pink wheels. I myself had a lovely race with Dave. Coming up on about 3 minutes left here in qualifying. Going to give everybody a shot at probably one more flying lap here to set the grid for the 1.2 hours of Sebring. Like Stefan Vapp is tucking into pit lane here. Maybe sitting out the rest of this qualifying session here and get house in order. 75 minutes of racing. Pick up Darren Trickle, see how he's doing here as we get towards the waning moments here of this 45-minute qualifying session. Darren setting a lap time of a 1:57.166. Not enough to pip Steve there in the pole position. Stefan Vapp is also in the pit lane. He's looking like he's going to go out and try and give it another shot here. Get across the line before time expires and pick up a flyer there after the checkered flag flies. We shall see. Let's find out what Ian Ditson's up to. 1:57.584. He's got some time to find here if he's going to get up onto that pole position. Fifth place currently reached Shanbrook at 1:58.980. Looking like the top third of the grid is going to be pretty closely packed here as we go racing. The bottom two-thirds all generally within a couple of seconds of each other. Certainly some of those drivers there at the bottom of the timing tower expect them to find some pace in the course of this extra long race for this evening, so always an opportunity to work their way up the grid. Ian currently setting personal bests in all the sectors thus far, running a bit wide and touching that wall. Unfortunate for Ian, that'll do it for him this qualifying session. Aaron Triggle's out on his outlap. I don't think he's going to come across. This is not going to count for him. He's going to pull it over and retire. We'll wait for timing and scoring to send back the official starting grid here for this 1.2 hours of Sebring here with the VRG VRL. Thank you for joining us. Ian Wisman in the booth. We have 75 minutes racing coming to you here this evening. There will be 2 pit stops. We expect everybody to take fuel on both. Probably not take tires. Generally, tires are discouraged here. It's a time sink and not necessary given the length of the race. But we should see how this all works out. Of course, everybody's sitting in pit lane right now, setting their fuel strategies up, clearing their tire changes for that first pit stop whenever it happens to occur. Here for timing and scoring. Available. Season 6 has not yet been determined exactly where we will be racing or what we will be racing. There's talk of the Lotus 79, the USF 2000, perhaps doing the GTE cars again, a tour of American Grand Prix circuits, or perhaps taking a European vacation and doing those storied tracks in Europe. We shall see. Details forthcoming. Keep an eye out on the VRG Facebook page for announcements as to when. And if you're sitting out there thinking, boy, this looks like a lot of fun, I'd like to join you all out there, certainly get in touch. Stop by the VRG website, vrgonline.org. Get in touch with us. Happy to have you join us. Waiting for any info on the cars and time to expire. Everybody gets back to the pit here. We should have our official grid up here shortly. Looking at Sebring International this evening. Current configuration, 3.74 miles in length, 6.02 kilometers, 17 turns. Current race lap record, 1:41.8, set by Toyota Gazoo Racing 2019 in an LMP1 car. Like we do have our official starting grid up here. Pick it up as the grid fills in. Starting in pole position, Steve Ficacci, Ficacci Family Racing, my co-host up here in the broadcast booth. Typically, Steve's going to be out with us this evening, giving everybody a run for their money. Outside of pole, Stefan Vappa, Vappa Vintage. Third position, Darren Treacle Insurance. Fourth is Ian Ditson. Fifth, Reed Shannabrook. Sixth place, Dave Fitzgerald. Seventh is John Wood, Dippa Sport Racing. Eighth, Don LeBayer. Ninth place, Dave Curtis. P10, Ruff Padgington, the ELB Racing Racer Walsh Company. One of the Ford GT40s out here this evening. Clark Orstrom's in 11th. Bob Lang starting in 12th position. Got Matthew Barber 13th, Mac McCormick 14th, Todd Angel in 15th, Kurt Uzbay in 16th, the other Ford GT out here this evening, Ralph Solomon 17th, Eric Russell in 18th, and Carlos Bonds in 19th. Glad to see Carlos could join us. Wasn't sure he was going to make it due to work commitments. Happy to have him out here this evening. Back up to the top here. We'll do our top five. Once again, Steve Ficacci, first place. Stefan Vapp outside pole. Darren Treacle in third, Ian Ditson in fourth, and Reed Shannabrook in fifth position. 75 minutes of racing coming at you here from Sebring International for the 1.2 hours of Sebring with the VRG Virtual Racer League. This is Ian Wisman with the VRG. Thanks for joining us out there on Facebook and YouTube land. We appreciate it. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe, get those notifications when we go live. Heading out there for a pace lap. Pick it up whenever the green lights go out. Look for some close racing here with Steve Ficacci and Stefan Vappa. Always exciting stuff to watch them race. Darren Treacle is also always a threat, as well as Ian Ditson. Reed Shannabrook sitting there in fifth place. Could be a bit of a sudden come from behind here. We'll see how he does this evening. And Dave Fitzgerald currently sitting second place in our points. We'll pull those up here real quick one more time before we drop the green flag. We can take a look, see how everybody's doing here. Stefan's out in top, first place. Dave Fitzgerald in second place in points. Darren Treacle in third, fourth place. John Wood in fifth place. Dave Curtis. Anybody's race here. 43, perhaps 42. A good number there, 42. The answer to life, the universe, and everything. We're getting a little heat in those tires. Got a bit of a pace lap ahead of us here, so we're going to jump up to the Treacle Insurance blimp. Nice overview here of this lovely Sebring facility. Looks like a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Let's take a quick look at the weather and see what we're looking at here. Very light wind, 75 degrees and beautiful, 50% humidity, partly cloudy, 98-degree track temperature. Really a lovely day for some virtual racing here at Sebring. It's coming together nicely here on the back straight. A lot of times sit here and think about it. Everybody's well behaved, getting nice and bunched up. Carlos Bonds there in the back, and the Sanrio Hello Kitty liveried. I believe that's a Corvette he's out there in this evening. Got Steve Ficacci sitting on pole position. Stefan Vappa just on the outside behind Ian Ditson and Darren Treacle. All threats to win this race, not too far behind Dave Fitzgerald, Reed Shannabrook. John Wood sitting back there. We're going to be coming up here on the start finish, looking for the green flag, waiting for the pace car to tuck away. Go racing here for 1.2 hours of Sebring. We got the green flag is out. 75 minutes of racing coming out to the VRG VRL. This is Ian Wisman. Everybody sit back, enjoy. Let's go racing. Stefan Vapp is taking the lead here down the front straight. getting a little bunched up there. He is successfully into turn one. Steve Focaccia getting pinched out a little bit there. Darren Trieber going to the outside. Looks like he may take that from Steve if he can hang on to it. Ian Ditson challenging Darren to the inside. Dave Fitzgerald just behind him. Reed Shanbrook behind him. Everybody clean through the first 2 turns. Here we go through 3, 4, and 5. Stefan Bappa out in front. Seems to be comfortable where he's at right now. And back to Steve Focaccia here. Looking up ahead there is Stefan Bappa. Everybody else seems to be clean through, though it looks like Don LeBaire might have had an incident back off track. We'll pick up with that one in just a little bit. Stefan Bappa, Steve Focaccia, Darren Treacle, Ian Ditson, Dave Fitzgerald, Reed Shanbrook. Dave Fitzgerald running a little bit wide there. Let's see if he sticks with it. Reed Shanbrook looks to have taken Dave to the inside there as Dave had a bit of a fumble. Steve Focaccia all over Stefan's back end, able to read his license plate. I bet you Stefan's getting the face full right now in his mirrors. Taking a look out of the backside of Stefan right now, we can see Steve Focaccia just behind Ian Ditson in 3rd place. Oh, Darren Treacle in 3rd place. Ian Ditson just behind him. Stefan Bappa leading this first lap around here. We'll pull up our timing scoring tower so we can see how everybody's doing. Stefan very tight there as he comes onto the front straight here. Steve Focaccia not giving him a whole lot of time to think about things here. We're also start finish Stefan, Steve, Darren, and Ian. Reed Shanbrook getting a bit of distance put on him right now between those top 4 front runners here. Ian is all over the back of Darren Treacle. We'll pick up with Ian and Darren and watch this one for a little bit as Steve is haunting Stefan's rear view mirrors. Right now it's all about biding your time. It's a long race here. You don't need to throw it away here in the first couple of laps. But he should be probably sitting back and looking to coast for a little while here. Got there down the field. The Pink Pig of Reed Shanbrook looking pretty nice. John Wood here diving into the turn in the Dippa Sport BMW. Todd Angel just behind him. On the nose of Steve Focaccia right now, facing race leader Stefan Bappa. Nice and tidy here, but he's still fairly well put together. Top 7 or so cars running nice and close together. A bit of distance then between everybody behind. We'll catch up with them in just a little bit. As stated, we got a long race ahead of us, so plenty of time for folks to catch up, and who knows what happens whenever we get to those pit stops. Those spawns exiting the picture there. Looks like Ralph Solomon seems to be having a bit of an issue there with his Ferrari. Has lost his hood. Marinello is probably going to have something to say about that one, but I'm sure he'll get it fixed up for his next pit stop in. Stephen Focaccia making a dash there on the inside of turn 1 on Stefan Bappa. Is he going to stick with it? It looks like he gave it back up to Stefan. Stefan able to reclaim that #1 position. They're going to be coming up on a bit of lap traffic here. It looks like Ralph Patchington might be having some issues in that 40G this evening. ELB Racing, Racer Welsh Coast, sponsor. Stefan giving a bit of a headlight flash there to Ralph Solomon, probably chatting to him on the radio, letting him know there's a train coming through. Focaccia looking to the inside there, Stefan. Ralph Patchington gracefully bows out there as this train goes beep beep on coming through. Blends in there nicely able to navigate, letting the race leaders through. Stefan Vappa getting loose, much to put it in the dirt there. He spins off, not able to recover quickly. Looks like he's going to fall down the ladder there a little bit, at least to 6th position. Gets it back together. Rejoins the course. John Wood coming up here on Stefan Vappa. Let's see if John Wood's able to get it on Stefan. Stefan seems to have had a unfortunate incident there. Met the grass, met the wall. Rejoined. Stefan's back in it, but that means our race leader is now Steve Ficacci, my fellow broadcaster here in the broadcast booth, and all over his back porch, painting it red, is Darren Treacle. I guess that's probably more so in orange, given the Reese's livery, but it works. Certainly Darren, Ian, Reed Shanbrook here seeing an opportunity. Steve Ficacci really hanging it out there, though. Let's see if he's able to put some time and space here himself and the rest of the pack. Up and down the grid a little bit. Looks like we got Todd Angel chasing Dave Curtis here. Dave out in the Mountain Dew livery Porsche. Todd Angel also out in the Porsche. Just behind Bob Lang in the Corvette C8R. Porsche's looking extra tidy, navigating the twisty bits here. Eric Russell currently running in 15th position. He's got Carlos Bonds and DeMac McCormick. Looks like they're going to maybe split the difference here with Eric. Carlos, hard time navigating around Eric there. Having to push a little bit wide there. Expect they'll probably catch this one up here once they get a bit of straight track. And Mac looks like he might be thinking about a move on Carlos himself. Back up to the front of the pack. Currently following Ian Dixon running in 3rd place. Steve Ficacci going purple with a 157.328. Could have kept a closer eye on those qualifying results to see how far he is off of his qualifying times. He's putting about a 1.2 seconds gap on Darren and about a half second separating Darren and Ian. Fitzgerald currently running in 5th place, chasing down Reed Campbell. Jump back here, catch an instant replay of Stefan Vappa going off course and see what happened. I suspect he probably dropped the tire a little bit into the dirt there and was just a little too loose. A little wide, gets into the dirt, and that's all it takes, folks. Just a couple of inches. A little too far into that slippery off-track surface. Spins him right across the track and puts him into the wall. Takes a bit of nose damage there. So Stefan's probably down a couple of miles an hour on front straights, but expect him to get that fixed up right quick when he comes back in for his first pit stop. Straight taking a peek to the inside. Steve Ficacci currently in the lead, but not able to put any great amount of distance between second and third place here. Even though Ian and Darren are battling, Steve's not able to get away too far, so fairly even right now. 10 minutes into this 75-minute race. 2 hours of Sebring with the VRG Virtual Racer League. Ian Wisman up here in the booth with you, doing this one solo. My co-host leading the race right now, Steve Ficacci. Steve put together an excellent instructional video for the racers prior to this evening's race. Sebring is a track which is a little difficult to find your way around if you don't know what you're looking for, so Steve points all of those little dimples in the walls and various cones and braking points and perhaps a palm tree or two. Know when you should be on the brakes, on the gas, and what you're aiming for. Todd Angel and Bob Lang having a good race here. Currently a race from ninth position. Dave Fitzgerald making some room up here on Reed Shannerbrook. I wonder if Reed might have had a bit of an issue here. Missed that one. He's definitely reeled Reed in. Let's see if he can catch up to him, make it stick, and this would be a battle here for fourth position for Dave Fitzgerald. Dave currently running in second position with 127 points. I'll pull those up again here real quick and let's see what we got to do here. Dave Fitzgerald with 122 points. Stefan Bapp 127 points. I think currently as the points work out, if we finish as we're running right now, Dave might have it on top of Stefan. I'm bad at math, folks. I apologize. Nothing else. We shall see after 75 minutes of racing where we stand. So Dave filling up Reed's mirrors. I see Stefan Vappa, however, in the background. So if Dave's taking his time here getting around Reed, Stefan may be able to capitalize on this moment and get out ahead. Decent draft in these cars if you get close enough. I expect that's probably what's keeping Darren and Ian close to Steve Ficacci here. See the intervals are dropping on this front stretch and they can pick up the draft. Darren currently going purple in this race with a minute 57.292, so he's running faster than Ficacci. Looks like he's making up some space here. We'll see how this works out. Thanks to those watching at home, letting me know that my mic needs to be turned up. You can't hear me quite well enough, so I'm going to readjust here and turn up my levels. Do a quick mic check here to the audience at home. Hopefully sipping a mixed beverage, perhaps a Dr. Pepper or a Moxie if you're up in the far north near Maine. So this is a little better as we see here. Darren Treacle encountering a bit of traffic here. Steve Ficacci ahead of him, able to navigate that quickly. Seems to have gapped them just a little bit. I'm getting the okay sign from Kingstown Lawn and Landscape for all of your lawn and landscaping needs in the Alexandria, Virginia area, as Ian Ditson is all over Darren Treacle's rear end here. Back and forth, back and forth. He goes left. Darren, I'm sure, can see him there. Close professional racing here. We'll see how this works out in the end here as they go into this right-hander. Darren taking the inside line. Ian hanging on the outside, but exercising a bit of discretion here, realizing we're only 15 minutes into 75 minutes here. And let that one go. Get right back on Darren as they come down the front straight here. Going to be a left-hand turn here. Ian's on the outside. Darren's to the inside. Darren's going to have to brake a little bit harder here to maintain this inside line. Ian's going to ring it around the outside and slingshot around Darren, taking second position there from Darren Treacle. But Darren is fighting back hard. Let's see if he can stick with it. We're going to get back inside line here. Darren's got this on Ian. Maybe a bit of a bump there. Just a bit of a touch. A kiss, if you will. Chef's kiss there on the bumper. Darren Treacle to Ian Ditson. Ian getting a little squirrely on the outside there. Darren's going to be able to probably get the power down and get back out in front of Ian Ditson completely. That was a little thrilling there. I expect Ian's going to want that one back, so we'll keep an eye on this one as they come back around. Steve Ficacci, as a result of that, able to put some space between those two. Now almost 3.5 seconds ahead. Second and third place, Darren Treacle and Ian Ditson. However, as we can see here, Ian is unrelenting. Home from college and beating up on folks here in the iRacing series here is young Ian Ditson. Congrats to him finishing his first semester in college. Hope the grades come in and Santa takes care of you. Maybe gets you that new Fanatec wheel you've been hoping for. So it looks like Ian's falling off here. Certain what that's about. Darren's able to put some pretty big gap ahead of Ian, so perhaps Ian was dialing in a little extra wicker bill there in the rear of that BMW. Jump down here a little bit to Dave Fitzgerald, running behind Reed Shanbrook still. Stefan Vappa there in the distance, so Dave has not yet been able to catch up to Reed Shanbrook, though only about a half second behind him. We'll see how this one works out. Reed's doing a pretty good job of keeping Dave behind him. Dave closing up real tight there in Reed. They turn on to the start-finish straight. Dave's getting a little wide there in that turn one. It gets pretty bumpy out there. You got to really hug that inside wall if you don't want to have to suffer through all those bumps. Steve Ficacci going purple here. Minute 57, 2:41. Picking back up here with our race leader, Steve Ficacci. And lo and behold, your broadcaster was speaking into the wrong microphone this entire time. Well, we aren't all perfect. It's been a long year. It's almost the end of 2020. So that's probably fitting. Thanks to everybody out there watching, letting me know that I was a little quiet there on my levels. Again, if you're watching out there in Facebook and YouTube land, we appreciate you watching. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit that notification button. Find out when we go live. Currently 20 minutes into 75 minutes of racing here. The Sebring, the 1.2 hours of Sebring with the VRG VRL. This is Ian Wisbon from the VRG broadcasting to you live. We appreciate you joining us. Currently watching Darren Treacle in second place, Ian Ditson in third place. A bit of space has developed between the top three here. They have been running pretty close. Let's jump down here to Reed Shannonbrook and Dave Fitzgerald. Dave able to execute a pass here on Reed. Let's see if we can go back and find the replay on that one when Dave got around Reed. Jumping back here real quick. Down that start-finish straight here. Looks like Dave real close up behind Reed Shannonbrook as they're going into turn one here. See Dave sticks his nose in here and goes to the inside line in turn one. Reed backs out of it and Dave goes for it. Able to stick with that there. Had to fight Reed off a little bit, but it seems like he maintains it, having the better line there as we head into this next series of turns. Weather still looks good. Track 92 degrees. I believe it's cooled off just a little bit since qualifying. Race leader Steve Ficacci coming up on a bit of lap traffic here. That's Mac McCormick that he's running just behind there. And let's see if he can get around Mac or if it's going to slow him up a bit and allow Darren and Ian to reel him in just a bit. Mac backing out of it to let the race leader by as Darren and Ian approach. Shaving a bit of time off there. Pick up here with Don LeBayer, who had a bit of an incident there at the beginning of the race, but seems to be working his way back up the grid here. Just about a second behind Todd Angel. Expect Don to make his way up even further here. A lot of time left. Our pole sitter, Stefan Vappa, running behind Dave Fitzgerald, Reed Shannonbrook. Getting closer. I'm sure he's waiting for that pit stop so he can fix the damage there to his car. It's probably not handling the greatest at this point in time. We'll jump in the cockpit, see if his wheel's all out of sorts, but it looks to be running pretty true. Take the opportunity here to run up through the grid. Looks like Eric Russell's currently in the pit. Carlos Bonds is currently out, so let's pick up Carduz Bay. Out in the Ford GT here. Jump around a little bit. We'll pick up Ralph Patchington out there in another Ford GT. ELB Racing Racer Walsh Co. The other half of VLB Racing this evening. VRL chairman Jim Caramanis not racing with us this evening. It is the holidays and apparently had some other obligations. So we thank Jim very much for putting all this together. And I understand he's at home diligently rolling the dice on what Season 6 will look like. Could be GTE cars, could be another open wheel car, perhaps the Lotus 79. Maybe some tracks here in the Americas, or maybe we're going to take a European vacation and go see some of the storied tracks across the big pond. Matthew Barber out here with us this evening in the Mont Blanc sponsored Corvette. Ralph Solomon still missing a hood there from that early incident that he may have had. Taking a very wide line here as he comes around onto the back straight. Expect him to get that all fixed up once he heads out there. It looks like Mac McCormick might be having some engine troubles there. Whether that was the result of an accident or perhaps... Oh, that's also... Nope, that's Stefan Vappa who's got engine issues. We're going to have to go back to that replay and see what happened to Stefan Vappa, our pole sitter here. If he doesn't make it back to the pits in time, Stefan missing all of the rear end of that Corvette. Going to head back to the pits here and get himself fixed up right quick. That's not going to help, though. But Stefan is not unfamiliar with racing from the back of the pack, so expect him to put it back together, get out there, and start turning purple laps once again. We can see here the magic of the fast repair. Stefan's car instantly repaired. Looks like Mac McCormick has similar issues back there. Should get that fixed up right quick as well. Going to take the opportunity to put on some fuel here and then come out. And this may work to Stefan's advantage here as he heads out of the pit lane and back into racing action. Don LeBayer currently running in 11th place. Gone down 3 positions at this point. A little further down, I think, as a result of a lap 1, lap 2 incident, but he's working his way back up the timing tower. Good to see. Bob Lang running behind Todd Angel. Looks like Clark Orstrom is behind him in the BASF BMW. John Wood currently running a solid 7th place here. John, patient as always, biding his time until later in the race here. We're about 27 minutes into 75 minutes worth of racing here at Sebring for the 1.2 hours. John earned the reputation of being Mr. Consistent here, which has paid dividends for him as far as the championship points are concerned. So we'll see how John does here a little bit later here in this race. Dave Curtis, top marks for his livery here this evening. Do the do. Darren Treacle down to 5th place. Did Darren Treacle go into the pits? Darren Treacle did take his pit stop. So taking a look right now, Darren Treacle's got 1 stop in. Stefan Vappa's got his first stop in. Don LeBayer also has his. Matthew Barber's gotten his completed. We also got Ralph Solomon, Mac McCormick, Kurt Uzbay. Clark Orstrom's been in twice. And it looks like Eric Russell went in but has since retired from the race. Dave Fitzgerald has put some space between he and Reed Shannabrook, so Reed Shannabrook currently running in 4th position. Dave Fitzgerald in 3rd position. Stefan's back there in 8th, so if Stefan doesn't make up some positions here, Dave might be sitting pretty come the end of this 75-minute race. 2nd position. Car here, Ian Ditson, has yet to make a pit stop. So that should shake things up here just a little bit. And he tucks in just as I mention it. A little fortuitous there. Steve Ficacci out in 1st place now. Probably going to crack off a quick one here while he's got 2nd place in the pit stops. We'll see if he comes around for his first stop at the end of this lap. So let's ride along with Steve Ficacci, current race leader, my co-host broadcaster. And as expected, Steve tucks into the pit lane here. Watch him roll down to the end. Steve Ficacci currently in the pit lane. Dave Fitzgerald also in the pit lane. Well timed there by Dave. We'll see who makes it out of here first. Darren Treacle's going to be coming around here onto the front straight in just a moment. So did you see Dave pulling in just behind Steve Ficacci? Steve's getting ready to roll off. Darren Treacle's going to be coming through here in just a moment down the pit lane. As Steve Ficacci rolls out, let's see where these two wind up. Steve able to get away before Darren Treacle comes around. Don't expect Steve took a tire change. Didn't see the car go in the air, so he's out on the same tires he started the race on, though Darren Treacle is quick behind. So closing up there, both having completed their first stop here this evening. As well as Ian Ditson there, currently in third place. Dave Fitzgerald re-enters in fourth. Fifth place, Reed Shannabrook. Sixth place, Stefan Vappa, having taken his pit stop just a bit early as a result of his crash damage. And while I'm talking about that, let's go back and see what happened to Stefan. Unfortunate there. Stefan again ran a bit wide there, got loose, tried to collect it. Mac McCormick had nowhere to go, and unfortunately wound up collecting Stefan, damaging both cars in the interim. Luckily, both capable of carrying on and not too far away from the pit lane, so they were able to tuck in there quickly and get fixed back up. Coming up on the halfway point of the race here, the 1.2 hours of Sebring. Similar to the 12 and 24 hour endurance races. We're kind of in the throes of it at this point in time. We're just out there turning laps, getting around, trying not to lose time on those ahead of you. Trying not to let anybody behind you catch up. And then really starting to put the pressure on as we start to wind down the clock. Dave Fitzgerald currently in fourth place, about 11.5 seconds behind from Ian Ditson there. Reed Shannabrook sporting a bit of wing damage there that can't help on the long straights here at Sebring. Maybe negatively affecting the handling as well. Stefan Vappa back out there with a shiny new Corvette. Expect him to do good things with that. Darren Trickle going purple once again with a 156.968. Looks like he's got a bit of traffic to deal with, judging by the track map there. Darren just behind Bob Lang. Steve Ficacci ahead of Bob. Race leader Steve Ficacci currently uncontested. Coming up on a bit of lap traffic here. I believe that's Kurt Ousbay and Ralph Solomon ahead. See what kind of work Steve can make of these. Darren Trickle not too far behind, though Darren does have to navigate around Todd Angel before he can challenge. And then just in the distance, Ian Ditson running in third place. Steve able to make quick work of Ralph Solomon there. Now running down Kurt Ousbay. Steve taking a very wide line there, had been a bit of trouble negotiating that wide turn. Kurt Ousbay backed out a little bit, but Steve was out of his rhythm. It doesn't impact him too much, though Darren was able to make up some time as Steve was getting a bit agricultural there. We can see there Darren is caught right up. That said, Steve's still purple in Sector 1, even with that slight off-course excursion there. Looks like Todd Angel might have had a bit of an issue there in the back. Darren giving the flashes to, is that Ralph Solomon? Yep. Darren quick around Ralph Solomon there and is going to throw the hammer down and try and catch up with Steve Ficacci here. Stefan Vappa in 6th place. Down 4 positions from his qualifying spot, but after the excitement that he's had so far this race, 6th place with just under halfway to go in this race, not too shabby for him. We can see as that Mac McCormick there had spun off, he's getting back on course and resuming. I expect Stefan to continue to race hard here and try and get his way back up to the pointy end of the grid. Ralph Solomon running extremely wide there. A very thin gap there between Darren's car and the outside wall there as he enters into one. Wafer thin, one might say. Fakachi a touch quicker through Sector 1, but Darren going purple in Sector 2, so Darren is finding places to make some time up here on Steve. Looks like we've got Don LeBayer just ahead here as well, so Steve's going to have another car to navigate, and we'll see if this is to Darren's benefit. Stefan reeling in Reed Shannabrook. Currently a battle for 5th position. Jumping up to the Treacle Insurance blimp here for a minute. Let's pull back up our championship standing and see how we stand. Stefan Vapp out on top of the 127 points. Currently running in 6th position. 2nd place is Dave Fitzgerald, 122 points. Dave's running in 4th place currently. We'll see if we can get the accounting department to do the math on that one and see exactly how this has got to shake out for Stefan in order to take the Season 5 championship here, the Endurance Series with the VRG VRL. Stefan able to maintain some pace here on the start-finish straight here behind Reed Shannabrook. Let's see if he's able to close this one down before they get into turn 1, and it looks like that might just be the case here. Jump on board with Stefan. A bit of a correction there as they get into 1. Came up quick on Reed there. We've got Kurt Uzbay just ahead. We'll see how Reed handles this one and if it pays off for Stefan. I'm sure Stefan's going to be looking for any opportunity here to get around Reed and start making up some more time. Kurt going off track, coming back on. Stefan having to back out just a little bit to avoid the oncoming car there. And losing just a bit of time there to Reed. Both the Porsche and Corvette accelerating hard out of that turn there. Steve Fakachi going purple there on his last lap through. Apparently saw Darren in his mirrors and didn't like it, so turned it up a notch. Don LeBayer looked to have an off course there, so Darren was able to get around. See if this frees Darren up to run down Steve Fakachi, current race leader. Matthew Barber there taking my line through that turn. I oftentimes find myself on the wrong side of that barrier as I'm entering it. Mac McCormick there also having a bit of an issue there in the back. Probably touched the same dirt patch we saw Stefan grab a little bit earlier. Put you right into the wall. Stefan and Reed having one heck of a battle here. Looked like Stefan may have gotten around him for just a minute there. We shall see how this works out. Getting through some twisty bits here. We'll see who can manage this the best. So we got Stefan Vappa chasing down Reed Shannabrook. Ahead of him, Bob Lang. I believe that's Ralph Solomon just ahead there as they run down this long back straight with this high-speed right-hander. Stefan sticking close behind Reed. Traffic ahead not necessarily making it easy for Reed. Stefan may be able to capitalize on this one. Largely remains the same, assuming Ralph doesn't step in there and make things a little too close for comfort. I would expect that Stefan is making great use of his headlight button at that moment in time. Reed obviously able to put Bob, or is that Dave, between he and Stefan. Steve Ficacci there having to avoid Kurt Uzbey, running a little bit wide there as they came onto the back straight. Purple in 3 sectors thus far, so Steve's having a quick lap. Darren Treacle not too far behind though. So we are 50 minutes through this 75-minute race here, the 1.2 hours of Sebring with the VRG VRL. Current race leader Steve Ficacci. We're watching second place Darren Treacle as he works his way around Kurt Uzbey. So far, Steve Ficacci has led from the green flag, has not had too many issues, taken his first pit stop. We expect 2 during the course of this race, primarily for fuel, though we've had a couple stop for some quick repairs. Stefan Vappa qualified outside of pole, having an unfortunate incident a bit earlier after getting a bit loose in just a touch of the dirt. Stefan's gone in, fixed up his car, taken on fuel. Jumping down here, Stefan's been chasing Reed Shannabrook for the last several laps here. Reed out in the 911 RSR, Stefan out in the Corvette C8R. Stefan was pretty close just the lap prior. Unfortunately ran into a bit of traffic, which made it difficult for Stefan. But he has reeled Reed back in, and we'll see how he's doing. Let's jump down here to Ralph Padgington, currently racing Matthew Barber for position. According to my event reporting, Ian Ditson had a shunt, so we're going to have to take a look and see what happened there. It also looks like Stefan Vappa has managed to get around Reed Shannabrook. We shall go back and first check out the pass of Stefan on Reed, see how that one came together. Looks like Reed has a bit of a lockup, gets a bit wide there. Stefan's right on his rear and is able to capitalize and get around Reed. And just squeezes him out of the left-hander there and is able to hang on to the position. Bit of a blink there. Apologies for the connection. Now let's check and see what happened to young Ian Ditson. Currently still running in third place, so must not have been anything too terribly critical, but we're going to jump back and take a look. Just got a little too squirrely there in what I believe is the hairpin turn there and got loose. No actual contact, so Ian's able to continue without incident. Stefan's worked his way up to 5th place here after some early race incidents. Has maintained his lead here over Reed Shannabrook after taking that position on the last lap there. I'm going to guess this turn that we just watched Stefan navigate's one that's sticking in his head because he's had at least 2 spins as a result of just dropping a hair's breadth of tire over the edge there and catching that dirt. The rear end just steps out. Darren's been extremely consistent here. His 2nd place current running has executed his first pit stop, blinking the lights there for Matthew Barber to get around. Darren comes back and puts the hammer down. Steve Ficacci off in the distance, about 7 seconds here ahead of Darren. 55 minutes in, we got about 20 minutes remaining. This 75-minute race here. Challenging for our competitors here. Sebring is a tough track to begin with, and in the sim it's more than a little different than the real world. Very bumpy track, not a whole lot of visual cues as so far as where to brake and turn in and accelerate. But nice thing about these endurance races, they're pretty long, so even if you aren't too sure going into it, generally by about this time in the race, you've done it enough times that you're starting to figure it out and you're starting to improve in your times here. Generally, as evidenced by the timing and scoring tower, a number of our competitors were probably in the 2:10s or higher, and now everybody's flirting with that 2-minute lap time. So you can see everybody is getting faster here. Steve Ficacci currently our fastest lap at a 1:56.904. Steve and Darren have been trading that fast lap here for a little bit. Ian Ditson just on the outside looking in there in 3rd position. Looks as if Reed was able to get back around Stefan. We'll jump back and see exactly how that happened, as it was fairly recently. Kurt Uzbe there pulling that Ford GT back on course. Looks like Stefan might have had a bit of an off track and Reed was able to capitalize. So let's check the instant replay. It's like a bit of understeer. Went a little too hard into that turn, and Stefan unfortunately ran a bit wide, and Reed was able to get back around him. Stefan right back on his horse and catching up to Reed. Reed with a bit of a lockup there. Sounded like Stefan might have had one as well, but perhaps not quite as big as Reed's. Probably a bit of a pucker moment there for Stefan as Reed got a little too hard on those binders. Just a bit of a touch there as they were both navigating that hard right-hander under the front straight here. Stefan tapping just a touch on Reed's right rear. Both able to continue. Dave Fitzgerald catching up to Darren Treacle, who I believe has just recently left pit lane. Should have his 2 stops in here. We'll take a quick look here. Yes. Darren, the first of the front runners, to complete his second and likely final stop here, so he may be able to leapfrog those ahead of him if he can put in a couple of quick laps here. We've got Steve Ficacci's on the back straight. We'll see if he's going to come in this lap around or not. I'm sure he's been paying attention to see exactly where Darren's at, so I would anticipate that Steve will make this pit stop. Dave Fitzgerald there running a bit wide. Looks like Clark Orster might have thrown him out of his rhythm. Darren's going to pick up some space here and pull away from Dave Fitzgerald. Steve Ficacci staying out there, going to put a couple of laps in. Stefan has closed back up to Reed. Once again, all over his rear end. Seems that Stefan's got the pace in the twisty bits, but Reed must have him in the long straights. We'll see if Stefan can make this work here as they're running down the long straight. Gap is closing up. Stefan's got the draft. Stefan taking that inside line and into the pits for his second pit stop. Just under 15 minutes remaining here in the 1.2 hours of Sebring. I'm Ian Wisman with the VRG Virtual Racer League. Thanks for joining us out there on Facebook and YouTube land. Appreciate you joining us. Generally, we do this every Tuesday night. This is our Season 5 finale here for our Endurance Racing Series. Season 6 details coming up soon. Not quite sure what cars we're running or what tracks we're going to be at, but we'll be sure to let you know. Keep an eye on our Facebook page to announce it. And if you'd like to join us out here, if you got a sim rig at home and you want to try this, and obviously it's going to be winter soon, and those of us, at least in the Northeast, can't go racing in the real world when it's snowing, swing by vrgonline.org. Go to the contact page, get in touch with us. Be sure to extend you an invite. Come join us here at the Virtual Racer League with the VRG. Ian Ditson currently up to second place. One pit stop thus far Looks like he's going to tuck into the pit lane now and get that taken care of. Darren Treacle currently on the back straight. Would expect he can probably get around Ian while he's in the pit lane. Darren having already taken his second pit stop. We can see there Ian's obviously a bit... a couple of mosquitoes there inside his BMW. Quick tearaway there, clear up the windshield, take on his fuel, and then exit. Darren Treacle zooming by. Young Ian Ditson there. Steve Ficacci still leading this race. Has yet to come in for his second stop. Would expect that here within the next couple of laps. These guys are all pretty similar on their fuel loads, so would expect them all to start coughing around about the same time and have to come in. So we'll keep an eye on that one and see if the race leader, Steve Ficacci, tucks in. Race leader Steve Ficacci stopping in for his second and final pit stop of the evening here at the 1.2 hours of Sebring. Second place Darren Treacle currently on the backside of the track here. Steve's got a long drive down pit lane, but of course that means it's an even shorter exit for him once he gets fueled up. Darren's probably going to be hitting the front straight just as Steve's rolling off, depending upon how much fuel Steve takes here. Probably playing it pretty close to the limit here. He gets ready to pull off. Right through the safety car there, back out on the track, puts the hammer down. Clear track ahead of Steve as he comes back out on course. Darren Treacle just pulling onto the start-finish and across the start-finish line. Steve Ficacci has managed to retain his lead here. We'll see if Darren can do anything here in the waning moments of this race here. .12 seconds separating second place Darren Treacle from race leader Steve Ficacci. Dave Fitzgerald there in the background just as we changed cameras. Stefan Vappa currently in 6th place. Not too far behind Reed Shannabrook, but he's going to have to make that position up is Dave Fitzgerald, currently where he's sitting. May not be enough for Dave, but probably a little too close for Stefan's comfort, so I expect Stefan to start putting in some quick laps here towards the end. Bit of a touch there as Steve Ficacci goes around Dave Curtis on the outside of one there. We'll see if that impacts Steve at all, but it looked like it was a gentle tap. Don't see any damage to Steve's car, nor Dave's. So just a quick knock on the door there as Steve turns into turn one. Dave Fitzgerald's going in for his second pit stop. Nice view out of the front of Stefan's car here. We'll be able to see just how bumpy that turn one is as he runs down Reed Shanderbrook here, going towards the inside. Reed's able to maintain position there. Stefan generally able to excel, though, here on the inner twisty bits of this course. Reed seems to have a bit more power in the long straights. Touch of a lock up there from Reed just a couple of turns ago. They're coming up on Ralph Solomon, some lap traffic, so we'll see how Reed and Stefan handle this one. Just ahead of them is Dave Fitzgerald, currently running in 4th place. So these two are reeling in top couple of positions here in this race, despite battling for almost the entire length of it. Reed again locking up that inside front. Gotta wonder if that's not going to work to Stefan's advantage as they get down into the final laps of this race. Stefan to the inside of Reed into turn 1, and it looks like he's got Reed. Let's see if he can make it stick in this next complex of turns. Reed close behind, but it looks like Stefan's going to keep this one. Reed grabbing a bunch of curb there, not able to get the power down immediately. Stefan able to gap him just a little bit. Pulling up our pit stops. The entire field has done their 2 pit stops, so should be good to go to the end of this race. Reed hounding Stefan, however, making him earn this 5th place position. Dave Fitzgerald able to gap this battle just a little bit. Stefan extending his lead on Reed just a little bit here. We're going to jump back up to the top of the grid here. See what Steve Ficacci's up to. Obviously still leading this race. Looks like it's going to be rather uncontested. He's got enough time and space between he and 2nd place Darren Treacle. He shouldn't have anything to worry about unless he's got trouble with traffic ahead. Currently coming up on Todd Angel. Expect he'll be able to take him on the next straightaway. Steve putting in a solid performance here this evening. a bit of an unfortunate incident there. I'm not sure. Oh, was that perhaps Dave Curtis that had an unfortunate rollover accident there at the end of one? Very easy to do if you get too close to that outside wall there as you're trying to make that turn into one. Darren lucky enough to avoid that spinning, flipping Corvette C8R there. About 14 seconds and change behind Steve Ficacci. Darren's going to have to put in some epic laps here if he's going to catch up to Steve, unless Steve has some issues with that traffic. We'll pick up third place Ian Ditson here for just a little bit. Ian having a bit of a lonely race at this point, all on his own. I'm sure he'd like to be much closer to the front of this race. All that said, third place is not that bad considering. And it looks like Dave Fitzgerald might be having some issues a little further down the pack. It looks like he might have gone off and even had a crash here. And he is falling down timing and scoring here. It's a little wonky there. Catches a bit of curb and into the tire wall there. Unfortunate for Dave, was having a very solid race there. Rolls back on the track and makes it a very nervous situation there for both Stefan and Reed as Dave takes on the 3-point turn there. Obviously, the rearview mirror is not that great in these race cars. Not really meant to make a 3-point turn there. But Dave's back out there after that shunt in 6th position. Stefan Vapp moving up to 4th. Reed Shannerbrook in 5th. Not sure that Stefan's going to have what it takes to get onto the podium, but we shall see. We got 1 hour, 14 minutes into this race, so we are coming up on the final laps of this race. We're going to pick up with our race leader, Steve Ficacci, who has gone flag to flag and the pole position here this evening. 1.2 hours of Sebring with the VRG VRL. Darren Treacle currently 14 seconds behind in second place, and Ian Ditson further 12 seconds behind Darren. It's looking like Steve's got this one in the bag, folks. Unless his car starts coughing because he didn't put enough gas in, I expect he's got it. And sit tight, folks. As always, after the race ends, we'll pull our race winners and competitors into the broadcast booth, ask them a couple of questions, see how the race went for them, and we'll sign off for the evening here as we're watching Steve Ficacci in the waning moments of this 1.2 hours of Sebring with the VRG Virtual Racer League. Your race leader, flag to flag here. Broadcaster extraordinaire. Had Steve been up in the booth with me, I wouldn't have spent the first 20 minutes of this broadcast talking into the wrong microphone. So as Steve comes onto the start-finish straight here, we would expect the white flag is going to be out here in just a moment. Oh, we didn't get a white flag. We went straight to checker, and that is your race winner, Steve Ficacci here at the 1.2 hours of Sebring with the VRG VRL. Congratulations, Steve. Excellent done. Excellent race this evening. We're going to pick up Darren Treacle as he comes around to take his checkered flag. We'll roll down the grid as everybody picks it up. Your third place finisher here, Ian Ditson, flashing the headlights over to the pit wall to say, thanks, team. You've done a great job. John Wood finishing a solid 8th place here in the Dippa Sport liveried BMW M8 this evening. Expect John to be enjoying a Dippa shortly after the race ends. Fourth place finisher, Stefan Vappa. This is a hard-fought 4th place for Stefan. Had a lot of issues earlier in the race, but was able to make that comeback, climb his way up to 4th position. Reed Shannerbrook, excellent drive there in the Pink Pig Porsche 911 RSR. Ralph Padgington's going to come across, collect his checkered flag here for the ELB Racer Walsh Co. Ford GT. Dave Fitzgerald's going to wrap this one up in 6th place. Congratulations to Dave. Had a bit of a hard one there. As we can see, he's got a bit of front end damage, but lighten him up for the fans, giving the kids a bit of a show. Ralph Solomon takes a checkered flag here to end this Season 5 Endurance Series. Let's jump up to the front here and see what's going on. Heard a bit of fender banging here. I expect there's more than a few people probably doing some celebratory donuts and writing their names on the Armco with their cars. So congratulations, Steve Ficacci, our race winner this evening, flag to flag, pole position. Nicely done, Steve. We're going to take a break here in just a moment, jump into the broadcast booth and see who's all up and ready to come in and talk to us here. Seems Steve Ficacci's already in the lobby, so we'll be pulling him in here in just a little bit, and we'll wait for a couple others to join us and see how they're all doing. So, folks, this is Ian Wisman with the VRG VRL. I'm going to tap out here for just a moment. Going to go over to the broadcast booth, get our race winners in here, and we'll do a couple of post-race interviews. Let's pull up the finishing results here. Your race winner, Steve Ficacci. Second place, Darren Treacle. Ian Ditson in third. Stefan Vappa in fourth. And Reed Shannabrook rounding out that top 5 here. Let's pull up our points real quick and see how that all turned out for everybody. Steve Ficacci taking 43 points here. Pull up our end results in our championship. And it looks like Stefan Vappa does take this championship. Just pipping Darren Treacle. 167 points to Stefan, 163 to Darren. Dave Fitzgerald, 160 points. And John Wood, 153. Dave Curtis, 145 points. Sit tight, folks. I'm going to grab a couple of people to bring into the broadcast booth. We'll be right back with you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ian Wisman with the VRG VRL. Back in the broadcast booth, I have our race winner, Steve Ficacci. I've got second place, Darren Treacle, right? No, Darren's not here yet. Third place, Ian Ditson. We've also got Dave Fitzgerald and Stefan Vappa. After a long fought 1.2 hours of Sebring here. First off, Steve, congratulations on your win. Very nice drive from you. It looked like it was relatively straightforward to you. Is that the case, or was it a hard-fought win?
Stefan was in front, and he had good pace until he put a tire off. I think it was exiting Tower, and then after he was, not in front of me anymore, I was like, all right, let me put my head down, put some good laps in, create a gap, and I just couldn't get away from Darren. It wasn't till after the first pit stop that I think I put a little distance on him, but even then, it wasn't a lot. The third pit stop, definitely. That's when we got some good separation, at least where I could relax a little bit. But I drove as hard as I could that whole race. I think managing traffic's kind of tough. Sometimes you're not sure which way to go, but had a few hairy moments, but we got through it. And I think I saw Darren drop down a few seconds here and there, so he was probably having similar issues.
Yeah, there were a couple of pucker moments there with the navigating the lap traffic, particularly there at the end. I think, Stefan, you had a rather close call there as you and Reed, and a hard-fought battle between you and Reed through the entirety of the race. But right there towards the end, it seemed like you might have had a bit of a Brown moment coming around there with a couple of cars strewn about.
It wasn't too bad. It was it looked like it could could go bad at any moment, and so I just kind of let it play out and worked my way through. There was no point in pushing it because Reed had to make his way through as well. So just tried to play it smart because I'd done enough stupid up to that point.
Well, that said, Stefan, kudos to you for fighting your way back after having a rather interesting, I think, probably first quarter or third of the race, but you managed to pull it all the way up to fourth position there. So nice driving there from you. We've also had Darren, our second place finisher, join us here this evening. Darren, looked like you were trying to give Steve a run for his money there, but looked pretty tough out there this evening. How was your drive this evening, Darren?
Yeah, I was gonna do the best I could, but I just didn't have enough. But it was challenging. I mean, that track's always challenging. I didn't really have a setup for it. I was using a Road Atlanta setup. Me and Ian had a good little battle there at the beginning. I had to look a little. There was some lap traffic, a little bump with Bob Lang. I tried to do some pit strategy type stuff, but that didn't really work out. So I was trying. I just didn't have enough.
Well, if nothing else, it was exciting up here, and I certainly at Sebring, and I spent a couple hours in the sim practicing. I can see how not knowing which way to go when you come up on the traffic, or even where the traffic should go, is a little difficult. And obviously, Sebring, not a lot of landmarks to kind of cue you. So certainly for those new to the course, either in the real world or in the sim, probably made it a bit of a guessing game as to which way they were going to go. Most of the racing, and it looked like you were kind of off on your own, running by yourself with a lot of room ahead of you, behind you. But otherwise, how was your race here this evening?
It was all right. The battle with Darren was pretty fun. I had a surprising moment coming up on John Wood towards the end of the race, coming out of 4, I think it is. He was turned around, going under wherever that is. So that was a bit of a tight squeeze. Yeah, pretty uneventful race, but my interviews seem to sound the same each time I'm here about being a boring race for me. But the battle with Darren was pretty close, and I don't know if we almost touched or anything, but sure as hell felt really tight going through there.
Yeah, certainly sitting up in the booth here, those are a couple of really nice laps there at the beginning. Well, I mean, a couple. There was several laps there, nose to tail, some very close racing there, and it stayed pretty close between the top 5 cars there for the first decent portion of that race. But then you got a bit strewn to the wind there after a while. Dave, looked like you were looking for a strong finish there, and for a bit of time, perhaps going to finish far enough ahead of Stefan that you might have been able to pip him there for the championship there towards the end. It looked like a little frustrating though for you there towards the end. If you don't mind giving us a bit about it.
Yeah. It's exactly what was happening. I was thinking about trying to keep ahead of Stefan, and I just took my eyes off in front of me and looked at the relative screen to see where he was, with only at least probably 1 or 2 laps. I think the next lap was the white flag lap, so I should have just kept my cool and not worried about it, but I didn't, and I ended up putting a wheel off underneath that little bridge leading onto the short back straight before the hairpin, and I had a 4th place in the bag, and it just didn't work out that way. So congratulations to Stefan, and you deserved it, man.
Thank you. It was a hard race. After I made my mistake early on, and I figured Steve and Darren and Ian were off, over the horizon, but I could still see you and Reed. I was just trying to mark you. Honestly, I just didn't want to let you get too far away, and I made a couple of mistakes that did let you get far away, and then you returned the favor.
Welcome.
Well, John Wood's joining us here, finishing P8 this evening. I think you dropped 1 place from your qualifying spot, John. But once again, Mr. Consistent, smooth and easy. How was your race here this evening, John?
Oh yeah, it was consistent, smooth, and easy, except for my 2 spins. I was glad to see and then hear that Ian missed me on the one towards the end of the race. But a track like this and a extended race like this demands your attention the whole time. So you can't afford to be lackadaisical or to lose your focus. And I think that's what happened to me. But as it turns out, I didn't lose a spot. I ended up in the same place whether or not I spun, but just don't like doing that kind of thing.
Well, maybe it's the endurance series here, and I know we only did a handful of races for the extended length, but the focus and the concentration translated up here to the broadcast booth. Since I didn't have Steve here to keep an eye on me, I spent the first 20 so minutes talking into the wrong microphone. So we all been here, done that. So
yeah.
And luckily, there's no camera on me. Nobody can see that I'm doing that. Of course, I luckily had
maybe we need to get you a camera.
Yeah, maybe. We had some fans out there from Kingstown Lawn and Landscape letting me know that they couldn't hear us. So we're going to throw a little free advertising out there for Kingstown Lawn and Landscape, your lawn and landscaping needs in the Alexandria, Virginia area. That said, Steve, I missed you up here in the booth, but it was a pleasure watching you drive a very nice race here this evening. And once again, your instructional video certainly helped me figure out which way I was going out there when I was practicing in the lead up to this. So, of course, as always, thank you for putting that together. But nicely done here this evening. And thanks for joining the race and giving everybody a rabbit to chase.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm always happy to make the videos. And I know it's like a range of skills, so I try to give everybody a little bit of something in there.
That said, having completed this endurance series, season 6, the chairman, Mr. Karamanis, hasn't seen fit to tell us what we're going to be doing. Generally, from the audience in the room, did you find the GTE cars to be a pleasure to drive? Would you do another season of them, or what would everybody like to see?
Let's start with. I mean, who wants to start? I can if we want.
Go ahead.
All right. I like the cars. I like the way they handle. They're a lot of fun to drive, but very draining. With the load cell pedal, after a while, you just get a little. You feel like you're doing the same thing every lap until you're not, and you're just blowing through a corner. And then they're very heavy on the steering wheel too. So excited for a change, but I did enjoy this series. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll echo pretty much everything you said there. I like this car a lot better than the GT3s. It's
Oh, the GT3s feel worse now. Like when I went to push the brake at Spa to do a race for them, I immediately exited the session before it even started.
yeah, well, the GT3s with the ABS, it doesn't matter how hard you push the pedal, they're never going to really
No,
respond very well.
yeah.
And this track in particular, I think, was the most physical one we've done all season. And like you say, with the load cell pedal, there are several very high pressure braking zones. I'm hitting it for pretty much all I'm worth for a long time, and that gets very tiring. And so,
And
yeah, I think it's a much more physical car than anything else we've driven. But I like that it doesn't have the ABS, and it's a bit more lively than the GT3s were. However, I'm not a big fan of just how heavy they are, and
I agree with that.
that's because when if you get a little bit on the grass, they don't slow down.
They don't slow down if you go on the grass the wrong way. You're doing what you did early in the race.
Yeah,
Don't go on the
exactly.
grass.
Yeah, I mean, normally I don't have a lot of trouble coming back on track after dropping a wheel, but
I
it caught
do.
me out twice this race, so I'm doing something wrong.
Maybe I need to we should practice rallycross, get our skills of counter steer and overreacting to everything really good, and then we can put the car off all we want.
I think Ian wants to finish up the broadcast, but I want to say real quick, please excuse the two young fellows in the room for complaining about the car being hard or tiring to drive. Jeez.
Well, I was just gonna say, you see videos of all those F1 drivers doing, kettlebell swings, and they're doing squats and pressing, 700 pounds with their legs. It's, I guess, a bit of reality here in the sim world is where, most of us, well, at least me being an office dweller and a keyboard warrior, I got to start lifting some weights here if we're gonna keep doing endurance racing in these big cars. But I will say it's been a ton of fun doing the endurance here. I like the longer aspect of the races. It gives people a chance to fight their way back. Obviously, Stefan, you proved that one here this evening, and always nice to see somebody like Steve putting together a drive flag to flag like that over such a long period of time and that kind of consistency. Congratulations, Stefan, taking the championship here again in season 5. We'll see if you can pull it off in season 6, of course, but I suspect Darren, Steve, Ian, and John perhaps are going to give you a run for your money here in the next season.
It gets harder every season. It really does.
We're all getting better. So, the more I can get out of the booth and improve myself, and we can get Steve out there, and we'll stick Jim in the booth, and we can go, give you a run for your money there. So I thank everybody for joining us up here in the booth. Stefan, congratulations on your championship. Steve, excellent drive, excellent win here this evening. Darren and Ian, nice drives. Unfortunately, it didn't work out for you this evening, but good to have you out there racing.
Throat punched.
Everybody made it through. Well
That's
done.
for sure. Well, everybody from the broadcast booth here, the VRG VRL, want to extend you a very happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We'll be looking here to racing with you again in season 6. So thanks all for joining me here this evening. I appreciate it. And Steve, looking forward to having you back in the booth or racing you out on track here soon.
Yeah, looking to come back.
All right, everybody. Well, happy holidays to you all. I'm going to sign off on the other side, and I thank you again for joining us.
All right. Thank you, Ian.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. All right, folks. That's going to do it for me in the broadcast booth here. From the VRG VRL, this is Ian Wisbin. I'd like to extend you a very happy holiday season, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year. We thank you for joining us here on YouTube and Facebook land. Hit the like, hit the share, hit the subscribe button. We'll be releasing details on Season 6 here shortly. Keep an eye on our Facebook page. We'll be doing it every Tuesday night, probably from 8 to 10 p.m. We'll see what cars and what tracks are going to be racing. Hope everybody has had as good of a 2020 as you can possibly have. We look forward to 2021, to bigger and brighter, to real-world racing, and doing a bit of the iRacing whenever we can't be at the track. So thank you very much for joining us. We hope you enjoyed the broadcast coverage here this evening. This is Ian Wisman wishing you a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and a very happy New Year. We'll see you real soon.